The internet is on fire tonight, and if you thought the love and hip-hop universe had finally cooled down, think again. Fans are shocked after a sudden chain of events pulled old wounds straight back into the spotlight. Just when everyone believed the past had been buried for good, Racine has broken her silence, and her response has everyone talking. The timing? Explosive. The trigger? Mendeecees Harris stepping back into her orbit in a way no one saw coming. Sources close to the situation say emotions ran high when Yandy Smith allegedly made comments that reopened years of tension, betrayal, and unfinished business. What started as subtle shade quickly turned into something far more personal. Friends whispered, fans picked sides, and behind closed doors, the family was left divided as Erica reportedly decided she was done staying quiet. Now, insiders claim Erica's response wasn't just emotional, it was strategic. Old receipts, raw feelings, and unresolved history all collided in one dramatic moment that has social media spiraling. Was this about protecting her peace, reclaiming her narrative, or finally confronting the woman she believes crossed a line? And where does Mendeecees truly stand as the past and present crash together? As reactions poured in from friends, family, and fans alike, one thing became clear: this story is far from over. Loyalties are being questioned, motives are under a microscope, and the fallout could change everything moving forward. Buckle up, because what happens next might rewrite the entire dynamic, and nobody is walking away untouched. The night everything cracked open again started quietly, the kind of quiet that feels fake, like the air itself is holding its breath. Erica sat alone in her living room, phone face down on the table, but the notifications wouldn't stop buzzing. Every vibration felt heavier than the last. Fans were shocked, not just whispering this time but screaming online, stitching old clips, replaying old arguments, dragging her name back into conversations she thought she had escaped years ago. She hadn't said a word yet, but somehow the drama had already found her. Earlier that day, Yandy's voice had echoed through social media like a match dropped into gasoline. A live stream, a casual laugh, a comment that sounded harmless on the surface, but anyone who knew the history felt it instantly. Some people just can't let go, Yandy had said, eyes sharp, smile tight. Even when the door is closed. The fans didn't miss it. Neither did Erica. Emotions ran high as clips spread within minutes, captions screaming betrayal, side-eye emojis stacking up like bricks. Erica watched in silence, her jaw tightening, memories flooding back that she had buried deep for her own sanity. What nobody expected was Mendeecees. He wasn't supposed to be part of this chapter anymore. He had a wife, a family, a public image he was carefully maintaining. But according to people close to Erica, he had reached out the night before Yandy's comments went viral. Just a message, short, heavy, we need to talk. Those 4 words alone reopened years of unfinished conversations, late-night arguments, and promises that were never fully explained. When fans found out he had been in contact with Erica again, the internet exploded. Erica replayed the message in her head, not the words but the tone behind them. She knew that tone too well. It was the same one he used back when things were complicated, when loyalty and love were blurred and everyone got hurt. Part of her wanted to ignore it, to protect her peace. Another part of her felt something darker rising. Not hope, not love, anger, the kind that builds slowly and then demands to be released. Her phone lit up again, this time a call from her cousin. "You seeing this?" the voice asked, already knowing the answer. Erica closed her eyes. "Yeah," she said quietly. "I see everything." Family was already choosing sides. Some told her to stay silent, that responding would only fuel the fire. Others said this was her moment, that she had been quiet for too long while narratives were written about her without her consent. The family was left divided, group chats buzzing, opinions clashing, old resentments resurfacing. Across town, Yandy wasn't as calm as she looked online. Sources say she felt blindsided by how fast the conversation turned. What she thought was a controlled comment suddenly became a full-blown storm. Fans flooded her page, demanding answers, accusing her of provoking Erica on purpose. "Why bring it up now?" one comment read. "Why poke the bear?" another said. Yandy tried to brush it off, but privately, she was furious. Not at the fans. At Mendeecees. When she confronted him, the argument was immediate and intense. "Why are you even talking to her?" Yandy snapped, pacing the room. Mendeecees didn't raise his voice, which somehow made it worse. "Because there's history," he said. "And it doesn't just disappear because we want it to." That sentence landed like a slap. Emotions ran high as Yandy accused him of reopening wounds that nearly destroyed them once before. Mendeecees shot back that pretending Erica never existed was a lie they had both been living with. Back in her living room, Erica finally flipped her phone over. She opened her notes app, fingers hovering above the screen. She wasn't planning a rant. This wasn't about going viral. This was about control, about finally speaking her truth before someone else twisted it again. She thought about the years she stayed quiet, the moments she swallowed her feelings for the sake of peace. And then she thought about Yandy's words, how calculated they felt, how familiar the disrespect was. "I'm not doing this messy," Erica whispered to herself. "I'm doing this honest." She began typing, slowly at first, then faster as the words poured out. She didn't name names immediately. She didn't have to. Everyone knew exactly who she was talking about when she wrote, "I've been silent for a long time, but silence doesn't mean guilt, and it doesn't mean weakness." Within minutes, fans were refreshing her page nonstop, sensing something was coming. Meanwhile, Mendeecees sat alone in his car, staring at his own phone, Erica's name glowing on the screen. He hadn't expected things to spiral this fast. He told himself he just wanted closure, but deep down he knew it was more complicated than that. Every time the past came back up, it reminded him of choices he never fully owned. And now, with Yandy watching his every move and Erica finally ready to speak, he was trapped between two worlds he helped create. When Erica finally hit post, the reaction was immediate and brutal. Fans were shocked by how calm yet cutting her words were. No screaming, no insults, just truths layered with years of restraint. She hinted at betrayals, at conversations that happened behind closed doors, at being painted as the villain while others protected their image. "Don't mistake my silence for ignorance," she wrote. "I remember everything." Within seconds, screenshots flooded Twitter, Instagram, blogs lighting up with headlines claiming Erica had finally had enough. And as the comments stacked higher and higher, one thing became painfully clear to everyone watching: this wasn't just old drama resurfacing. This was the beginning of a reckoning that none of them could control anymore. The moment Erica's post went live, the energy shifted. It wasn't loud at first, but it was heavy, like the calm before something ugly breaks loose. Fans didn't just react, they dissected every line, every pause between sentences, every word that felt like it was hiding a deeper meaning. Emotions ran high as people began connecting dots that had never officially been acknowledged. Suddenly, old interviews resurfaced, clips from years ago replayed with new captions, and the narrative started slipping out of everyone's hands. Yandy saw the post within minutes. She read it once, scoffed, then read it again slower. By the third time, her expression changed. This wasn't the emotional outburst she expected. This was calculated, controlled, and that scared her. "She's playing victim," Yandy muttered to herself, pacing back and forth. But deep down, there was a flicker of doubt she refused to acknowledge. What if Erica wasn't lying? What if some of those wounds really had been ignored for convenience? She grabbed her phone and called Mendeecees again. This time he answered. "Have you seen it?" she asked sharply. He didn't pretend. "Yeah," he said. Silence followed, thick, uncomfortable. "So that's it?" Yandy snapped. "You just let her say whatever she wants?" Mendeecees exhaled slowly. "She didn't lie," he said. That sentence changed everything. On the other side of town, Erica's phone wouldn't stop ringing. Friends, family, even people she hadn't spoken to in years suddenly wanted to check in. Some praised her strength, others warned her. "This is about to get messy," one friend said. Erica knew that already. She felt it in her chest. But for the first time, she didn't feel afraid of the mess. She felt ready. What the public didn't know yet was that Erica hadn't even said the half of it. Her post was just the door cracking open. Behind it were years of conversations, late-night phone calls, moments where she felt chosen in private and erased in public. Moments that haunted her long after she decided to move on. And now, with Mendeecees back in her messages and Yandy throwing shade like it was harmless commentary, the past refused to stay buried. Fans were shocked when a second post appeared hours later. This time, Erica didn't hold back as much. "I stayed quiet to protect people who never protected me," she wrote. "I won't do that anymore." The comments section turned into a battlefield. Some accused her of cloud chasing. Others defended her fiercely, saying she deserved to tell her story. The family was left divided not just privately, but publicly too, as relatives liked and unliked posts in real time. Yandy felt cornered. She went live that same night, claiming she was tired of being painted as the villain. "I've always kept it real," she said, voice shaking just enough to feel authentic. "I didn't say any names. If the shoe fits, that's not my problem." But viewers weren't convinced. Emotions ran high in the comments, with fans calling out inconsistencies, demanding accountability, asking why old issues were suddenly being dragged into the present if everything was truly resolved. Behind the scenes, the tension between Yandy and Mendeecees reached a breaking point. The argument that night wasn't about Erica anymore. It was about trust. "You keep saying it's the past," Yandy cried. "But you keep running back to it." Mendeecees shot back, "Because the past doesn't disappear just because you ignore it." Words turned sharp. Accusations flew. Old resentments resurfaced, and for the first time in a long time, neither of them knew how to fix it. Meanwhile, Erica received a message she didn't expect. Mendeecees again, longer this time, more emotional. He apologized, not just for reaching out, but for everything that was never fully addressed. He admitted mistakes, admitted confusion, admitted that seeing her name trending stirred feelings he thought were long gone. Erica read it once, then twice, then set the phone down without replying. She wasn't sure if his words brought closure or just reopened wounds that never healed properly. Fans sensed something deeper was happening. Speculation exploded that Mendeecees was torn, that his loyalty was being tested, that Erica held more power in this situation than anyone realized. Blogs ran wild with theories, insiders leaking half-truths, each one adding fuel to the fire. Emotions ran high as people debated whether Erica was reclaiming her narrative or risking her peace for a moment of validation. Late that night, Erica finally broke down. Not on camera, not online, alone. The weight of being strong for so long hit her all at once. She cried for the younger version of herself who accepted less than she deserved. She cried for the public judgment she knew was coming. And she cried because deep down, she knew this story wasn't finished yet. As dawn approached, one thing was certain. The lines had been drawn. Silence was no longer an option. And whatever happened next would force everyone involved to face truths they had spent years avoiding. By morning, the situation had grown teeth. What started as posts and lives turned into phone calls, confrontations, and quiet breakdowns behind closed doors. Erica woke up exhausted, her phone filled with missed calls and unread messages, but one name stood out more than the rest. Mendeecees. Again. She stared at it for a long time before finally opening the message thread. This time, he wasn't apologizing. This time, he was explaining himself, and that somehow felt worse. I never meant for it to go this far, he wrote. But you deserve honesty. Erica scoffed softly. Honesty. That word had been used on her like a weapon before. She typed, erased, typed again, then finally replied. Honesty would have been choosing me when it mattered, not when it's convenient. The message sent, and with it, a wave of emotions she couldn't take back. While Erica tried to keep her emotions in check, Yandy was unraveling in her own way. The backlash hadn't slowed. Fans were shocked at how quickly public opinion began to shift. Comments that once praised her strength now questioned her motives. Friends reached out offering support, but even they sounded unsure. One friend asked quietly, "Are you sure nothing more happened?" And that question echoed in Yandy's head long after the call ended. Yandy confronted Mendeecees again, this time calmer but colder. I need the truth, she said, sitting across from him, arms crossed. Not the version that protects you. The real one. Mendeecees hesitated, and that pause said everything. Emotions ran high as he admitted that reconnecting with Erica stirred feelings he thought were long gone. Not love, he claimed, but guilt. Unfinished business. Yandy laughed bitterly. You don't text your unfinished business at midnight, she snapped. As word spread that tensions were boiling over at home, fans speculated nonstop. Some said Yandy was finally getting a taste of what Erica had endured years ago. Others insisted Erica was intentionally stirring chaos. The family was left divided even among the fanbase, with hashtags forming on both sides, each claiming moral high ground. Erica tried to stay offline, but it was impossible. Every scroll brought new accusations, new think pieces, new people claiming to know her story better than she did. One blog post in particular hit hard, suggesting she was secretly hoping Mendeecees would choose her. That was the moment something inside her snapped. She grabbed her phone and recorded a voice note, not intending to post it, just to hear herself say the truth out loud. I don't want him, she said, voice shaking. I want accountability. There's a difference. Later that afternoon, Mendeecees showed up unannounced. Erica wasn't expecting him, and for a moment, she considered not answering the door. But she did. The air between them was thick with everything unsaid. They didn't hug. They didn't smile. They just stood there, staring at each other like two people who shared a past neither could erase. You shouldn't be here, Erica said quietly. I know, he replied. But I needed to see you. That was all it took. Years of restraint cracked. Erica unloaded everything she'd held back. How she felt erased. How she felt blamed. How she was made to feel disposable while being asked to stay loyal in silence. Emotions ran high as her voice rose, tears spilling freely now. Mendeecees listened, jaw tight, eyes glossy. For once, he didn't interrupt. When it was his turn, he admitted to choosing the easier path instead of the honest one. I was scared, he said. And I hurt people because of it. Erica shook her head. Fear isn't an excuse, she said. It's just the reason. The conversation didn't end with closure. It ended with clarity. And sometimes, clarity hurts more than confusion. Unfortunately, their meeting didn't stay private. Someone leaked it. A blurry photo of Mendeecees outside Erica's place surfaced online that same evening. Fans were shocked all over again. The internet erupted with speculation, accusing Erica of lying, accusing Mendeecees of betrayal, accusing Yandy of losing control of her marriage. Emotions ran high as the story took on a life of its own. Yandy saw the photo and broke down. This time, there was no camera, no audience. Just raw emotion. She felt humiliated, blindsided, betrayed. When Mendeecees came home, the argument that followed was explosive. Shouting echoed through the house, words meant to wound flying freely. You embarrassed me, Yandy screamed. You embarrassed yourself, he shot back. The family was left divided in ways that couldn't be hidden anymore. In the aftermath, Yandy made a decision. She went online again, but this time, her tone was different. No shade, no slick comments, just pain. I've always fought for my family, she said. But I won't fight alone. Fans were torn. Some empathized. Others saw it as damage control. Either way, the message was clear. Something had shifted. Erica watched the live silently. She didn't feel victorious. She felt tired, drained, but also lighter. For the first time, she had spoken without filtering herself to protect someone else's image. Friends checked in, telling her she was brave. Critics accused her of selfishness. She accepted both. Emotions ran high, but her resolve stayed firm. Behind the scenes, producers and insiders circled like sharks, sensing a storyline too explosive to ignore. Calls were made, offers hinted at. Everyone involved felt the pressure of their private pain turning into public currency. Erica declined interviews. Yandy hesitated. Mendeecees avoided everyone. By the end of the week, nothing was resolved, but nothing was hidden either. Trust was fractured, narratives were exposed, and all three were left standing in the aftermath of choices they could no longer undo. The story wasn't about who won or who lost. It was about what happens when silence breaks and the truth, messy and inconvenient, finally demands to be heard. And as the noise continued to grow louder, one question hung over everything like a storm cloud waiting to burst. Was this the end of the drama, or just the beginning of something even more destructive? The fallout didn't slow down, it multiplied. Every hour brought a new rumor, a new screenshot, a new insider claiming they knew the real story. Fans were shocked by how quickly sympathy turned into suspicion, how loyalty online shifted with every post. Erica tried to focus on her day-to-day life, but the outside noise followed her everywhere. Grocery store whispers, side eyes at red lights, strangers feeling entitled to her pain. Emotions ran high, but she refused to retreat. What no one saw was the toll it was taking on her mentally. Nights became restless, sleep came in short bursts, interrupted by memories she thought she'd healed from. Moments where she questioned if speaking up was worth it. But then she'd remember the years she stayed quiet, the way silence aided her confidence, and she'd remind herself why she started this in the first place. Meanwhile, Yandy's world felt like it was collapsing in slow motion. She tried to keep her routine normal, but nothing felt stable anymore. Every conversation with Mendeecees felt loaded, like there were landmines under every sentence. They barely spoke unless necessary, and when they did, it always circled back to the same unresolved issue. Trust, the thing they both claimed to value but clearly hadn't protected. One night, Yandy finally asked the question she'd been avoiding. If I wasn't here, she said quietly, would you choose her? The room went still. Mendeecees didn't answer right away, and that hesitation cut deeper than any confession. It's not about choosing, he said eventually. Yandy laughed bitterly. That's always your answer, she replied. And that's the problem. Fans were shocked when Yandy skipped a public appearance she was scheduled for. Insiders whispered that she wasn't in the right headspace. Others claimed it was a strategic move, letting the tension simmer. The family was left divided even within their inner circle, some urging her to stand firm, others telling her to prepare for the worst. Erica, on the other hand, made a surprising move. Instead of clapping back online, she stepped away completely for a few days. No posts, no likes, no comments. That silence made people uneasy. Speculation grew wilder. She's negotiating, some said. She's hiding something, others claimed. But the truth was simpler. She needed space to think. During that time, she met with her mother, a woman who had watched her daughter carry emotional weight far heavier than she ever deserved. You told your truth, her mother said gently. Now let it be. Erica nodded, but letting go wasn't easy when the world kept dragging her back in. The calm didn't last. A leaked audio clip surfaced online, allegedly from a private argument between Yandy and Mendeecees. The voices were muffled, but the words were clear enough. Accusations, regret, blame. Fans were shocked all over again. Emotions ran high as people debated whether the leak was intentional or a betrayal from someone close to them. Yandy was furious. Mendeecees was humiliated. And once again, Erica's name trended, even though she wasn't in the recording at all. That was the moment Erica decided she was done being a background character in someone else's chaos. She went live unexpectedly, her tone calm but firm. I didn't leak anything, she said. I didn't ask for any of this to be public. But I won't be blamed for other people's choices. Fans flooded the comments with support and skepticism in equal measure. The family was left divided once more, but Erica didn't flinch. Yandy watched the live, arms folded, tears welling despite her best efforts. She felt like she was losing control of a narrative she had spent years shaping. Everyone thinks I'm the villain, she told a friend later. And I don't even know how it happened. The friend hesitated before answering. Maybe because you never acknowledged her pain, she said softly. That sentence stayed with Yandy longer than she wanted to admit. Days later, Mendeecees made a decision that shocked everyone. He issued a public statement. No vague quotes, no deflection, just ownership. He admitted to mishandling the past, to reaching out when he shouldn't have, to failing to protect his marriage properly. Fans were shocked by the honesty, but it came with consequences. Emotions ran high as people questioned whether it was too little, too late. Yandy felt exposed. Erica felt vindicated but conflicted. Mendeecees felt lighter and more trapped at the same time. The statement didn't fix anything, but it changed the tone of the conversation. For the first time, Erica wasn't the only one carrying blame. Privately, Yandy and Erica exchanged messages. Not friendly, not hostile, just honest. Yandy admitted she spoke out of hurt and pride. Erica admitted she stayed silent out of fear for too long. There was no apology that magically healed everything, but there was acknowledgement. And sometimes, that's the hardest part. Fans didn't know what to do with that development. There was no clear villain anymore. No clean ending. Just messy humanity. Emotions ran high as people debated whether reconciliation was possible or if the damage was permanent. In the end, nothing wrapped up neatly. Relationships remained strained. Trust was fragile. But one thing had changed forever. Erica was no longer invisible. Yandy was no longer untouchable. And Mendeecees was no longer hiding behind silence. As the dust settled, the story lingered in the air, unresolved but undeniable. And everyone involved knew one truth they could no longer escape. Once the past speaks, it never goes back to sleep. The quiet after the storm was deceptive. On the surface, things looked calmer, but underneath, tension simmered like it was waiting for the smallest spark. Erica felt it everywhere she went. People smiled at her differently now, some with sympathy, others with curiosity, like she was a headline instead of a person. Fans were shocked at how much power her voice had once she finally used it, and that realization changed how she carried herself. She wasn't apologizing anymore. She wasn't shrinking either. Mendeecees tried to focus on repairing what was left of his marriage, but every attempt felt fragile. Conversations with Yandy were careful, measured, like they were both afraid to say the wrong thing and set off another explosion. "I'm trying," he told her one night, frustration creeping into his voice. "Trying isn't the same as fixing," Yandy replied quietly. Emotions ran high because neither of them knew if fixing was even possible anymore. The public statement had opened doors that couldn't be closed. Fans now expected accountability in real time. Every move was analyzed, every silence interpreted. When Yandy didn't post for 2 days, people speculated she was planning her exit. When Mendeecees liked a random photo, blogs twisted it into proof of betrayal. The family was left divided not just emotionally, but publicly, with even distant relatives dragged into the narrative. Erica watched it all from a distance, feeling a strange mix of relief and guilt. She never wanted to be the reason a family fractured, but she refused to take responsibility for cracks that existed long before she spoke. Late one night, she journaled her thoughts, admitting to herself that part of her still cared, not romantically, but humanly. "I cared about who he was to me once," she wrote. "That doesn't mean I owe him silence forever." Things took another turn when a former friend of all three decided to speak out. Someone who had been there during the early days, who had seen the private moments no one else knew about. The interview was messy, emotional, and full of half-revealed truths. Fans were shocked as new details emerged, suggesting that Erica had been asked repeatedly to stay quiet for the greater good. Emotions ran high as people realized how much pressure had been placed on her behind the scenes. Yandy watched the interview with a tight chest. Hearing it from someone else made it harder to dismiss. "I didn't know it was that bad," she admitted to herself, though saying it out loud felt impossible. Pride had always been her armor, but now it felt heavy. Still, she wasn't ready to fully let go of her version of events. "I was protecting my family," she told a close friend. Even if it meant being cold. The friend's response was gentle but firm. Protection shouldn't require erasing someone else. Mendeecees reached out to Erica again after the interview, not to explain or apologize, but to acknowledge. "I see it now," he wrote. "And I'm sorry I didn't before." Erica read the message and felt something settle inside her. Not forgiveness, but validation. She replied simply, "That's all I ever wanted." For the first time, their exchange didn't reopen wounds. It closed a small part of them. Fans didn't know about that conversation, but they sensed a shift. Erica's energy changed. She seemed steadier, more grounded. She posted less but said more when she did. People noticed. Some called it growth. Others accused her of planning her next move. Emotions ran high as speculation returned, but Erica no longer felt the need to correct anyone. Yandy, meanwhile, faced a hard truth. Maintaining appearances had cost her peace. One night, she broke down in front of her sister, admitting she was tired of fighting narratives instead of feelings. "I don't even know who I'm mad at anymore," she confessed. "Him, her, or myself?" The answer scared her because deep down, she knew it was all three. A tense conversation followed days later, one that had been postponed too long. Yandy and Erica spoke directly, no audience, no intermediaries. The air was awkward at first, words stumbling over years of resentment. But then something unexpected happened. Honesty replaced defensiveness. Yandy admitted her comments came from insecurity. Erica admitted her silence turned into resentment. There were tears. There were pauses. There was no neat resolution, but there was mutual recognition. Fans would never see that moment, but it changed everything. After that, the noise slowly lost its grip. Blogs moved on to the next scandal. Fans found new sides to pick. But the impact lingered for those involved. The family was left divided, yes, but also more aware. Nothing was hidden anymore, and that transparency, painful as it was, offered a strange kind of freedom. Erica returned to her routine with a lighter heart. She didn't regret speaking up, even with the chaos it caused. Yandy began reevaluating what strength really meant. Mendeecees confronted the consequences of choices he once avoided owning. Emotions ran high throughout the journey, but in the aftermath, there was growth none of them expected. The story never truly ended. It just stopped being public property. And in that quiet space, each of them began the slow process of redefining themselves beyond the drama, knowing that some scars remain not as reminders of pain, but as proof that silence was finally broken. Time moved forward, but the tension never fully disappeared, it just learned how to hide better. Weeks passed, and publicly, things looked quieter. No viral lives, no cryptic captions, no trending names. Fans were shocked by the sudden silence, suspicious even, because drama like this rarely just evaporates. But behind the scenes, emotions still ran high, just without an audience watching every breath. Erica focused on rebuilding herself in ways no one could comment on. Therapy sessions that dug up memories she didn't know were still hurting her. Long walks where she replayed conversations and finally allowed herself to feel anger without guilt. She realized how often she had been expected to be understanding, patient, and silent, while others were allowed to be loud, messy, and forgiven. That realization changed her, not in a bitter way, but in a grounded one. She started saying no more. No to interviews that wanted to frame her as a villain or a temptress. No to friends who only called when drama was attached to her name. No to explaining herself over and over. Fans noticed the shift. Some admired it, others accused her of being cold. Erica didn't care anymore. Peace finally felt louder than noise. Yandy, on the other hand, struggled with the aftermath. The apology she never publicly gave weighed on her. She told herself she didn't owe anyone an explanation, but that confidence cracked in quiet moments. Late at night, scrolling through old photos, she wondered when exactly things stopped feeling secure. When love turned into defense. When strength became control. Emotions ran high in those moments, even when no one else could see it. Her marriage felt different now. Not broken, but bruised. Mendeecees tried to show up, tried to prove he was committed, but trust doesn't regenerate overnight. Every time his phone buzzed, Yandy felt her chest tighten. Not because she thought he was cheating, but because she hated that she doubted it all. That doubt changed how she saw herself. One evening, during a rare calm conversation, Yandy finally said it out loud. "I'm scared," she admitted. Mendeecees looked at her, surprised. "Of what?" he asked. "Of realizing I've been fighting everyone except the person who hurt me," she replied. That sentence hung in the air, heavy and unavoidable. Mendeecees didn't defend himself this time. He nodded. "I failed you," he said quietly. Emotions ran high, but there was no yelling. Just honesty. The kind that hurts but also heals. It didn't erase the past, but it cracked open the door to something real. Whether that door would stay open was still uncertain. Meanwhile, whispers of the drama resurfaced when an anonymous source teased another reveal. Fans were shocked when blogs hinted at more receipts and untold details. Erica felt the familiar anxiety rise, but this time, it didn't control her. She told herself she didn't need to respond to every shadow. "Let them talk," she said to a friend. "I've already said what mattered." The reveal came and fizzled. Nothing new, nothing explosive. The internet moved on faster than it arrived. That moment taught Erica a powerful lesson. Her story only had power when she gave it energy. Taking that energy back felt like reclaiming a part of herself she didn't know she had lost. Yandy watched the blogs cycle through another scandal and felt oddly relieved. Not because she was innocent, but because she was no longer the center of the storm. Still, the damage lingered in her friendships. Some people distanced themselves quietly. Others remained but treated her differently. The family was left divided in subtle ways, conversations more guarded, laughter less effortless. At a small family gathering, someone brought up Erica's name unintentionally. The room went quiet. Yandy didn't react the way everyone expected. She simply nodded and said she didn't deserve what she went through. The room exhaled. It wasn't a public apology. It wasn't dramatic, but it was real. Emotions ran high for a moment, then softened. Erica never heard about that comment directly, but she felt the shift anyway. Sometimes closure doesn't come from words reaching your ears. Sometimes it comes from knowing the truth no longer needs defending. Months later, when the chaos felt distant, Erica ran into Mendeecees unexpectedly. No cameras, no tension, just two people who shared history. The conversation was brief and respectful. No longing, no bitterness, just acknowledgement. "I hope you're good," he said. "I am," she replied, and this time, she meant it. Fans would later speculate about that encounter when it leaked in a vague post, but it never gained traction. The drama had aged, the audience had moved on. And so had they, in their own imperfect ways. Yandy and Mendeecees continued working on their marriage, not publicly, not performatively, but privately. Some days were strong, others were fragile, but they were honest now, and honesty changed the rules of the game. The family was left divided in the sense that nothing looked the same anymore, but sometimes division is what forces growth. Erica stepped into a new chapter, one that didn't require explaining her past. She felt lighter, stronger, no longer defined by what she survived, but by what she chose next. Emotions still ran high sometimes, but they no longer controlled her narrative. In the end, the drama didn't have a winner. It had consequences, it had lessons, it had scars, but it also had truth, and truth, once spoken, doesn't need to scream to be heard. And while the internet searched for the next headline, the people at the center of this storm quietly learned something the audience never fully would. Some battles aren't about being right or wrong. They're about finally choosing yourself, even when the world is watching, and even when it isn't. The last wave of attention faded slower than anyone expected, like an echo that refused to die completely. Even when the blogs stopped posting and the comments slowed, the emotional residue remained. Erica felt it in small moments, like when someone recognized her in public and hesitated before speaking, unsure which version of her they were allowed to address. Fans were shocked by how different she seemed now, quieter but stronger, less reactive, more deliberate. She no longer felt the urge to perform her healing for anyone. She spent more time alone, not out of isolation but intention. Mornings started earlier, coffee on the balcony, deep breaths before the day pulled her in different directions. She reflected often on how easily her story had been distorted when she wasn't the one telling it. That realization stayed with her, shaping how she moved forward. Emotions ran high sometimes when she thought about what was lost, but they no longer controlled her decisions. Yandy, too, was navigating a new internal landscape. The confidence she projected publicly had cracks now, but instead of hiding them, she examined them. She started asking herself uncomfortable questions. Why did certain comments come so easily? Why silence felt safer than empathy? Why control felt like strength when it was really fear? These weren't questions she shared with the world, but they changed her privately. Her relationship with Mendeecees entered a quieter phase. Not the loud kind of love that demanded attention, but a fragile rebuilding that required patience. They argued less, but when they did, the arguments went deeper. No deflection, no pretending. I need to feel chosen, Yandy said during one conversation that stretched late into the night. Mendeecees listened, really listened, and replied, I need to prove it without words. Emotions ran high, but this time, they didn't explode. They settled. Erica heard through mutual acquaintances that things were stabilizing on their end. She didn't feel relief or jealousy. She felt distance, not emotional distance born of bitterness, but the kind that comes from growth. She realized she no longer measured her worth against their relationship or its success. That chapter had closed, and reopening it no longer tempted her. Fans occasionally tried to reignite the narrative, tagging her in throwback clips or asking pointed questions in comments. Erica responded less and less, and when she did, it was with clarity. I've said my piece, she wrote once. I'm moving forward. That sentence resonated more than any rant ever could. Fans were shocked by how final it sounded. Behind the scenes, opportunities came and went. Some were clearly rooted in drama, others more genuine. Erica became selective. She declined anything that required her to relive pain for entertainment. Instead, she leaned into projects that reflected who she was becoming, not who she had been during her lowest moments. Emotions ran high when she realized how rare that choice was in a world that profits from chaos. Yandy faced her own reckoning when a close friend confronted her gently. You're strong, the friend said, but sometimes strength looks like owning harm. Yandy didn't argue. She nodded. That conversation stayed with her, pushing her toward a decision she had avoided. Not a public apology to her, not a dramatic confession, but a quiet acknowledgement where it mattered most. Months after the initial fallout, Yandy reached out to Erica again. The message was short and unpolished. No defensiveness, no qualifiers, just honesty. I handled things wrong. I'm sorry for the pain I added. Erica stared at the screen for a long time. Emotions ran high, not because she needed the apology, but because she hadn't expected it anymore. She replied hours later, thank you for saying that. I wish you peace. It wasn't forgiveness wrapped in warmth. It wasn't reconciliation. It was closure. And for Erica, that was enough. Fans never saw that exchange. They never needed to. The family was left divided in some ways still, but healed in others. Not everyone reconnects. Not every relationship survives truth. But sometimes survival isn't the goal. Sometimes clarity is. Mendeecees sensed the shift too. The weight he'd been carrying eased slightly. He stopped trying to control perceptions and focused instead on consistency. Showing up, listening, repairing what could be repaired without demanding immediate results. Emotions ran high when progress felt slow, but he accepted that trust rose at its own pace. Erica stepped further into her independence. She traveled. She laughed more freely. She stopped checking comments first thing in the morning. She redefined success for herself, not as validation, but as alignment. The noise that once felt overwhelming now sounded distant, like a radio playing in another room. Occasionally, the past crept in. A song, a place, a memory, but it no longer owned her. She let it pass without attaching meaning. Fans were shocked when she spoke briefly about the experience in a candid moment, saying, I learned that silence can protect others, but it costs you. That line traveled quietly but deeply. Yandy, watching from afar, recognized herself in that statement. It forced her to confront how often she had chosen protection over compassion. She didn't beat herself up for it anymore. She learned from it. Growth didn't erase her mistakes, but it reframed them. As time went on, the drama became a footnote rather than a headline. New stories replaced it, new conflicts captured attention, but for the people involved, the impact remained personal and lasting. They had all been changed by it, shaped by exposure, honesty, and consequence. In the end, there was no grand finale. No explosive confrontation, no viral moment that tied everything together. There was just life continuing, imperfect and unresolved in places, but real. Erica choosing herself without apology. Yandy redefining strength beyond control. Mendeecees learning that avoidance has a cost. Fans moved on, as they always do, but the lesson lingered beneath the surface. Emotions run high when truth finally surfaces, but silence runs deeper when it's forced. And once that silence breaks, there's no going back to who you were before it did. The story didn't end with redemption or ruin. It ended with awareness. And sometimes, that's the most honest ending there is. And now it's your turn. After everything you just heard, the questions are still hanging in the air. Was Erica right to finally speak up, or should she have kept the past buried? Did Yandy cross a line with her words, or was she just protecting what she built? And where does Mendeecees really stand now that the truth is out and the silence is broken? Fans are shocked, emotions are still running high, and the family was left divided in ways that may never fully heal. This story doesn't have a clean ending, and that's exactly why your voice matters. Do you think closure was finally reached, or is this just the calm before another storm? Was accountability enough, or did it come too late? Everyone involved has changed, but the consequences of their choices are still unfolding right in front of us. If this story had you locked in from start to finish, make sure you hit that like button because it lets us know you want more deep dives like this. Subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the next chapter when the drama resurfaces, because in this world, it always does. And most importantly, drop a comment below. Tell us whose side you're on, or if you think there are no sides at all. Read the comments, jump into the debate, and let your opinion be heard. Because in stories like this, silence always costs something. And the conversation doesn't end here.